Hey guys, so hope you're all doing great. This video is kind of a PSA, and a big credit to Shadowman311 for posting this. So he says the system has resorted to committing crimes against humanity against normal people instead of hearing their complaints about their barbarous actions. These are not the actions of a state that is capable of making the concessions it would need to make to survive the rising dissident tides that are beginning to splash onto their deck. This age will end in fire, and it will be all their fault. So what he's talking about here is there's this new weapon called the long range acoustic device, and I just want to give you guys a little bit of a demo here. It's called an LRAD. Okay, so let's see what it is. Okay, so it says that LRAD systems are a type of acoustic hailing device. EHD used to send messages over long distances. LRAD systems produce much higher sound volumes than normal loudspeakers or megaphones. LRAD systems have recently been used by police as sonic weapons to break up crowds. Okay. Let me know if you guys want to adjust the volume, go ahead. I think this is good enough for you guys.
Alright guys, Mrs. Cossack is feeling a bit under the weather, just like everyone here. People are feeling nauseous, people are feeling a bit of vertigo. That's the result of these police supersonic weapons. It's happening right here. Have a look at the earplugs they've got in. Now these ladies are prepared, they've put earplugs in, well done to them. Come prepared. But what about all these mums and dads here? They're copping the effects of supersonic weapons. That's a crime against humanity. Shame on Scott Morrison. He's scared of his own people. I mean, look at this crowd. These people are not criminals. These people are not dangerous. These are nurses, firefighters, mums and dads. Teachers. You're a teacher?
Yeah, high school teacher. Math science. Fired last week.
So you're a high school teacher and you're getting attacked by your own government with supersonic weapons?
Yeah, only because I stand up for the children.
It's for the kids, isn't it?
Okay, so there are protesters here, and they're suffering the effects of the LRAD. Right, so let's get to the meat and bones quickly. Right. So apparently he published a very useful PDF on how to protect yourself from these weapons. And he says, expect the system to use more of these as more and more dissidents start growing. Okay, so here's the PDF. Let's read it a little bit. Hopefully it'll be useful for you guys. LRADs. What are they and how to protect yourself? Okay, LRADs, what they are. Long-range acoustic devices, or LRADs, also known as sound cannons, were designed as a military weapon for use in Afghanistan. They were designed to communicate with potential threat over a very long distance, and also be able to disperse a potential threat with high-pitched deterrent tone. LRADs have now been acquired by police departments whose officers have used these acoustic weapons against BLM protesters in cities around the US, against protesters at Standing Rock, and against protesters at G20 Summit and the Republican National Convention 2004. Recently, LRADs have been used against BLM protesters in Rochester. So, if you're like a neoliberal guy like Destiny or Vaush, you might support the use of this kind of technology against maybe, anti-vax guys, or truckers, the Canadian trucker guys. But just keep in mind they can use this against your guys as well. They're already using it against BLM, so I would be very interested to see how the bread tube types react to this, using military technology in like police applications. I'd be interested to know their opinion. Okay, so why are they so dangerous? LRADs are designed to produce a very loud sound, and loud sound that can cause significant damage to our auditory hearing and vestibular balance systems. Okay, so it says that 85 decibels dB risk for hearing damage with prolonged exposure. So if you hear a sound at this decibels for a prolonged time, you could get, injured. And if you hear 120 decibels, immediate risk of hearing damage. This is as loud as a jet engine. If you hear 130 decibels, sound at this level can cause physical pain. If you hear it at 140 decibels, additional physical side effects like loss of balance, dizziness, vomiting, and eardrums bursting is 160 decibels. So peak, so I guess this is the range for the LRAD, is 140 to 160 decibels. Okay, so how can you protect yourself from LRADs? It is not possible to fully protect yourself from the potential hearing damage from an LRAD. The only way to protect civilians from LRAD is to not use LRADs, obviously, but I don't think the government, I don't think they're gonna stop using it. I mean, if it's, see, the government, it does things if they're like cheap and effective, so if LRADs, maybe they're not cheap, but if they're effective, they're not gonna stop using them. Okay, so here's how the following information could help. Okay, be prepared. Bring protective earmuffs or foam earplugs with the highest decibel rating you can find with you to the protest. Protective earmuffs are better because they are easier to put on quickly. Most people also do not know how to insert earplugs properly, so you are unlikely to be able to get foam earplugs into your ears quickly enough and correctly, especially if you are in panic. Noise cancelling headphones are not the same as protective earmuffs. Okay, that's useful. Noise cancelling headphones are good at canceling low frequency sound, but the deterrent tone of an LRAD is high frequency. Know what an LRAD looks like and be aware of your surroundings so that you will notice there is an LRAD nearby. So, this is what it looks like, I guess. Uh, let's zoom in a little bit. So, this is what it looks like. LRADs may be worn carried by an officer or mounted on a vehicle by a helicopter. You know, it would be interesting. This police guy, he himself is not really wearing the LRAD if you look at this picture. So I wonder how they would protect. I mean, this guy, he looks like he's wearing a helmet. Maybe there's earmuffs inside, but these two guys, their ears are clearly exposed. So maybe it has like a directional thing where the sound only travels in a direction instead of being distributed over a larger area. So it could be that to get out of the like range of the LRAD, all you have to do is go behind it, like these two guys are. I mean, they're literally just behind it, a few centimeters. I mean, it looks like a few centimeters or a few inches, and presumably they're fine. I mean, they're not wearing anything, not even cotton buds and stuff. So yeah. So sometimes it's best to look at like federal agents, if you want to find out how they avoid their own weapons and stuff. Okay, so if you see an LRAD, warn those around you. Put on in your earmuffs or earplugs and look for a place nearby where you might be able to hide from the sound. If you do not have earmuffs or earplugs, be prepared to cover your ears with your hands. This will not work as well as earplugs or earmuffs, but it will be better than nothing. Sound bounces off hard surfaces, so if you can move behind a brick wall or concrete structures, this will help protect you somewhat from the sound. This is good advice. I would probably find something like a nearby office building with good concrete walls. Yeah, I guess bricks, anything made out of bricks. I wouldn't go in an apartment which has like thin walls. Some apartments do have that. Okay, police will often warn protesters by using a loudspeaker function of the LRAD before deploying the deterrent tone. If you hear officers using the LRAD to talk to the crowd, be aware that they may be preparing to use the deterrent tone next. LRADs produce a high focused beam of sound that can be directed as a target. So, yeah, I guess I was right. It does sound in maybe, it does travel in maybe like a particular direction, but I'm not really an expert. I'm not sure. Take that with a grain of salt. So, sound that comes from an LRAD is highly directional, which means it does not spread out in the way that sound usually does. Okay, I guess I was a little bit right there. This means that people behind or the side of the device will still hear the sound, but it won't be as loud as it is for people in the path of the beam of the sound produced by the LRADs. So yeah, I mean they are probably hearing the sound, but it's not enough to damage them. Like it's probably not in the damage range that was discussed here. Otherwise, they would be wearing something at least, and she seems to be corroborating that. If an LRAD is deployed, do everything you can to move away from the beam of sound. Run away perpendicularly from an LRAD. Do not try to outrun an LRAD by running away in the same direction. So it's kind of like an elephant. If an elephant chases you, you should move to the side. So you shouldn't run like perpendicular. You shouldn't run in its direction. You should go like perpendicular, or you could go behind it. I mean, well, behind it there's probably like the police nearby, so you're probably running into them. So you might want to go this way, or you might want to go this way. Yeah, that's also another option. Remember, the only way to protect civilians from LRADs is not to use LRADs. Okay. What to do if you've been hurt by an LRAD? Unfortunately, many impacts of LRAD, such as hearing loss or ringing in the ears, can be permanent. However, it's still important to see an audiologist. I don't even know what that is. If you are experiencing difficulty hearing and or ringing in your ears after being exposed to an LRAD, okay. If you are experiencing physical symptoms such as bleeding or other discharge from your ears, you should seek medical attention. So this is just another escalation. I mean, I guess we already saw this coming. They used the war on terror to beef up the surveillance state, and now the surveillance state is being used against Americans. They're spying on people, they're collecting people's data. Uh, Big tech is already doing that, but NSA, FBI, those guys are already doing that. So yeah, it's just another new technology they have. It was used by the military, now they can use it against the people. And at this point, it would be like really dumb of us to just assume that, okay, if the military develops a technology, they would never use it against the citizens. I mean, at that, I mean, I don't know how many examples you need of that. If there's no convincing you at this point, they're using like sound weapons against people. I don't know. I mean, if you're not convinced, here's another one. And this is also by Shadowman31. Please follow him on Gab and Post. I don't know if he's on Twitter, but if you're on Gab or Post, please follow this guy. He's very, very intelligent. He has some really good posts. If you think LRADs are bad, just wait until you see what the system pulls out when it gets really desperate. Ever see a young mother and her infant child get cooked alive for the crime of going to a protest? You will. So what's he talking about? This is the active denial system. It's called the ADS. Is a non-lethal directed energy weapon developed by the U.S. military, designed for area denial, perimeter security, and crowd control. Informally, the weapon is also called the heat ray, since it works by heating the surface of the targets, such as the skin of target human beings. Okay, and yeah, yeah. This is another good pointy ball here, non-lethal. So yeah, just because something is non-lethal doesn't mean it's gonna like hurt really bad. I mean, keep in mind, someone can like cut off all your fingers and you can still be alive, and that's also technically non-lethal. I mean, yeah, you don't have your fingers anymore, you can't hold stuff anymore, you probably can't go to the bathroom anymore to properly wipe yourself, but it's non-lethal, so yeah, that's kind of like a really dumb phrase, non-lethal. I mean, people use it in a way that, oh, it's not as bad as you think, but usually things like rubber bullets, even the damage from rubber bullets can be like really extreme, and it can debilitate people really badly, and the medical bills and the physical trauma and the mental trauma, all that probably makes you like literally worse off than death in some cases. I mean, yeah, so here's an example. 9 p.m. 2 days after the Canberra March. Apparently, this is a Australian woman who was exposed to an ADS, and yeah, I mean, when I first saw this, I just thought, okay, she got me punched in the face or something. She looks like one of those punch face cats. I mean, that's what she looks like. She has these massive bulges under her eyes, but apparently it's due to being exposed by the ADS. So large amount of heat concentrated maybe on her face. It explains why her face looks super red. So yeah. Uh, Yep. So the government, the feds, whatever you want to call them, they are using these weapons against people. I don't think it's like a partisan thing. I think they'll use it against whoever really threatens them in any serious way. I don't know if it's BLM, Antifa, or Proud Boys or whatever. They're going to use this against you. So it's probably in your best interest to know how to counter or at least mitigate the effects of these technologies. Stay safe out there.